A lot of men out there think leadership means yelling louder or having more money. But here's a hard truth. If your woman doesn't respect you, your kids don't follow you, and your routine is running your life, you're probably leading the wrong way. Masculinity isn't about speeches, it's about presence. And that's why today, we're talking about a name that became legend before he even hit 30, Alexander the Great. A young man who didn't wait for the right time or right age. He created his own path with vision, strength, and decisive action. You might be thinking, what does an ancient king have to do with my life today? Everything. Because Alexander didn't win just with swords, he won with strategy, purpose, and courage. He was the kind of man who didn't flinch, even when the odds were stacked against him. And that's the kind of masculinity we're missing today. The kind that protects, that leads with strength and wisdom. If you've been feeling stuck, like you've lost the respect at home or stopped growing, this video is for you. In just a few minutes, you'll see how an ancient king can teach more about family, honor, and real leadership than most modern-day experts. And the best part? It's practical. Because knowing theory means nothing if you're still watching your life from the sidelines. The time to act is now, and this might be your turning point. But only if you've got what it takes to face the truth like a man. How did Alexander rise to the throne? Preparation, influence, and embracing destiny. Alexander didn't just fall into power. From a young age, he was raised like the future of the world depended on him. His father, Philip II of Macedon, was a master strategist who saw in his son the chance to build something greater than himself. Alexander grew up immersed in war, politics, and glory, shaping his sense of manhood around discipline, honor, and purpose. When his father was assassinated, he didn't break down in public. He took the throne at 20, already carrying the weight of a crown like a man prepared. But make no mistake, it wasn't handed to him. Right out the gate, he had to crush revolts, silence doubters, and prove he wasn't just Philip's boy. His strength wasn't just physical, it was tactical. He united leaders, acted fast, and conquered smart. That's what a true provider does. He doesn't run from pain, he turns it into power. Respect didn't just show up, he earned it with grit and resolve. And if you look closely, this hits home for modern men too. How many are just waiting for the perfect moment to take charge of their lives? Whether as a father, a husband, or a leader, time won't wait. The protector understands that leadership is claimed before you ever feel ready. And a man who moves with purpose, even under pressure, naturally commands respect and earns the attention of women, because he gives off one thing the world craves: stability. And speaking of building something lasting, vision, relentless ambition, and strategic leadership. Alexander wasn't just a young guy with an army, he was a man who saw beyond the horizon. At 20, while most were still looking for approval, he was already king, reshaping the world through his vision. It was like he had a map no one else could read, carving paths where others only saw walls. That ability, to imagine the impossible and act with boldness, is what separates real masculinity from the appearance of strength. A true provider doesn't wait for the ideal conditions, he creates them, through clear purpose and solid leadership. But it's not just about wanting more, you've got to know where you're headed. Alexander studied under Aristotle. He soaked in culture and wisdom to become more than a conqueror. He became a strategist. And here's a golden lesson. A man who wants female admiration and societal respect needs to know the battlefield before stepping into it. Want to lead? Start by leading yourself. Read The Art of War, study the greats, set clear goals, and act with discipline. Raw power without direction is just a lion in a cage, strong, but going nowhere. A lot of people think leadership is about giving orders. But real leadership, it inspires. Alexander didn't beg his soldiers to follow. He made them believe they were building something greater. Want to do the same today? Build a life where your kids see you wake up early and follow through. Turn your home into a battleground of honor, where your family sees the reflection of a mature man, someone who doesn't duck responsibility. That kind of example plants the seeds of respect, admiration, and legacy. And speaking of legacy, what it says about courage, action, and purpose. By today's standards, conquering the world before 30 sounds like fiction. But Alexander proved that when courage meets purpose, the impossible becomes a plan. He didn't wait for permission from fate, he moved. And that alone teaches us something powerful. A man who leads his life doesn't need applause, he needs clarity and motion. True masculinity isn't revealed when everything's easy, but when a man moves forward despite fear. While most people retreat when faced with the unknown, the true protector charges ahead with confidence. Alexander crossed deserts, faced betrayal, led battles, but never gave up on his mission. Today, that looks like facing your own battles, bills, kids, pressure, problems, and standing tall. The provider doesn't collapse, he rises. In the end, courage is doing what's right even when victory isn't guaranteed. That's what earns you lasting respect and real admiration from women. You don't have to cross continents to prove your worth. Start by making your bed, honoring your word, and caring for your family with intention. The known world you're meant to conquer is right here, in your habits, your decisions, your daily discipline. And when a man discovers the power of action with purpose, he becomes unstoppable. But the real proof shows up later, when he learns to lead not just with strength, but with heart. The three pillars that made Alexander a living legend. Alexander wasn't just a commander, he was a builder of destiny. And it all started with one thing most men today overlook. He knew exactly what he wanted to build. Vision isn't about wishful thinking, it's about strategy, preparation, and disciplined execution. A man with purpose walks differently, thinks differently, lives differently. He's not distracted by nonsense, he's burning for something greater, to be the foundation of his home, the leader of his family, the provider who shapes the future. But vision without courage is just poetry. And Alexander never hid behind fancy words, he led from the front, sword in hand. That's masculinity, looking fear in the face and pushing forward. And courage isn't about feeling fearless, it's about choosing your mission over your fear. Today, that could mean owning up to your mistakes, asking your kids for forgiveness, switching careers, or facing your demons. Great men are forged in the small, quiet battles of everyday life. Now add purpose to that vision and courage, and you've got a man who becomes a force. Female interest, kids' respect, natural leadership, it all flows from that. Alexander didn't become a legend chasing fame, he chased a mission bigger than himself. And that's your cue. What exactly are you trying to build with your life? Because the next step only matters if you know where you're headed. That's where leadership leaves the battlefield and begins shaping character. Let me ask you straight, what are you waiting for to take command of your own life? Alexander's story isn't just ancient history, it's a mirror showing what a man can become when he lives with strength, purpose, and leadership. And the truth is, your family doesn't need a flawless hero, they need a present one. A man who stands firm, protects, and leads by example, not by volume. So what are you going to do with what you just heard? Let this message fade, or use it to level up. Will you start waking up earlier, keeping your word, becoming the man your kids look up to and your woman deeply respects? Because in the end, respect isn't demanded, it's earned through presence. And real masculinity, the kind that shapes the world, starts at home. If that hit home, it's time to move. Subscribe, hit the bell, and stick with us on this journey to becoming the man you were born to be. Because the world doesn't need more critics, it needs men ready to lead with honor. I left a video here about Leonidas of Sparta, where you'll see the raw strength and honor of the 300 in action. Don't miss it. I'll see you there.